guys, what's up? And welcome to another episode of Depravity Today, I suppose. I don't know how it is that I've been doing this for a relatively long amount of time, and still nonetheless, every time I get a message being like, hey girl, guess what the pedophiles are up to now, I'm still kind of like, why? Like, why am I here to suffer? So you guys have been blowing up all of my notifications with this movie poster and this movie that should be launching on Netflix as of now, I think on September 9th. I don't know with all of the backlash if it's gonna launch, if they're gonna change it, but let's just talk about it because I do think that it's getting a lot of heat, but there's certain things that aren't being discussed that I think are important to discuss. So there's a movie on Netflix called Cuties that is being slammed for sexualizing little girls. So I might play the trailer with no sound just so you can see the images as I read to you what is going on. More than 30,000 people have signed a petition asking Netflix to remove Cuties, a movie they claim sexualizes children. The film, which premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival, premieres on the streaming service September 9th. The trailer was released earlier this week on YouTube, has a TVMA rating from Netflix. 11-year-old Amy starts to rebel against her conservative family's traditions when she becomes fascinated with a free-spirited dance crew, the film's description reads on the site. However, Metro reports that the original summary was much more salacious. Amy, 11, becomes fascinated with a twerking dance crew. Hoping to join them, she starts to explore her femininity, defying her family's tradition. Netflix told the outlet the changes were made to ensure accuracy. They later issued an apology after the backlash. So the main character, Amy, is a Senegalese Muslim girl who lives in a poor neighborhood in France. The French film, which also goes by Mignonne, which means cuties, was written and directed by Mamouna Doucouré. Hope I didn't butcher that, who's also Senegalese. She won the jury award at Sundance for directing the movie. Her inspiration for the film came from seeing an amateur talent show in Paris. There were these girls on stage dressed in a really sexy fashion in short, transparent clothes, the first-time director told Screen Daily. They danced in a very sexually suggestive manner. There also happened to be a number of African mothers in the audience. I was transfixed, watching with a mixture of shock and admiration. I asked myself if these young girls understood what they were doing. So far, this sounds kind of like a weird misunderstanding. The thing that sparked a lot of the controversy though are the posters, so I do want to get to those before we continue going here. So the important thing that I haven't seen anyone talking about is the French poster versus the American poster. So the French poster looks like a coming of age story. Like if I just saw this French poster, I wouldn't really think anything of it because it looks like a group of friends and, you know, the typical coming of age, questioning your, maybe, you know, your femininity, questioning what you wear, maybe relationships. Like it seems pretty average. Like I wouldn't really think anything of it, not having read the description, of course. Looking at just the picture of the American poster, I'm like, what is this? All of the girls are showing skin, which wouldn't even be as weird if it were a film about gymnastics. Nobody would think anything of it. But the whole premise of the film is that this girl is intrigued by sexualized dancing and other sexualized young girls at the mere age of 11. And I'm wondering who approved this American poster? Who sat down I don't know how people sit down at boardroom tables where you're supposed to allegedly have productive and ideally intelligent conversation, and nobody here thought, hey, these girls are 11. One of them has her ass bent out. The story is supposedly about twerking. Should we maybe think about how this is gonna come across?
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
This movie could very well be an analysis of the sexualization of young girls and a culture that frankly likes to sexualize young girls, which is in and of itself traumatizing. But the thing is, you have to be very careful with how you make that narrative because as of right now, I don't know which adult would feel comfortable watching this other than pedophiles, because I for sure don't want to see any 11-year-old girls twerking. Like that is the last thing I want to see. It's not appropriate, and really you're catering to the depraved. Like I see as a main demographic here people who like seeing undressed young girls because the whole premise is around twerking and dancing, and twerking is sexualized dancing. So it's not even like a dance competition that is age appropriate. So even if it is an analysis, I'm wondering, did we ever stop to think who is really going to enjoy this? Like, who's going to gain the most enjoyment out of this? Because it's not for young girls, because I don't think it's meant for young people to really understand, like 11-year-olds, like the people in the movie. But then again, it's also like, I don't know what adult would feel comfortable watching this. And again, it seems like there is some kind of miscommunication between the French poster and the American poster, because the French poster gives a very different idea of what's going to happen in the movie compared to the American one, which is just straight up, look at these half-naked 11-year-olds. So I also wonder what the communication was there, because it seems like it's marketed as if it's two different movies. Looking at these two posters right now, tell me they don't look like two different movies. So let's continue on with the article to see like what the explanation is. The director, she spent a year interviewing kids in the area to find out why they wanted to act this way. Petitioners say the film exploits children. The movie Cuties shows children dressed provocatively, dancing sexually, and is rated only for adult viewers, reads their post on change.org. It was created for the entertainment of adults who are pedophiles. Please sign this petition to protect our children from exploitation in movies. Some Twitter users were equally enraged. Much of the anger was directed at the marketing poster for the film, which shows the young cast posing in cropped dance costumes. When you call a movie Cuties and promote it like this, that's sexualizing 11-year-old kids, wrote a Twitter user. So a lot of the conversation is coming down to how the posters are marketed, because like I said, they look like two different stories. So as of right now, there's no even real consensus of what really the story is about, because even though the story is about twerking, and I find that inappropriate, it also depends on how the movie portrays this, because if you're portraying it as an analysis about the sexualization of young girls, that could take a route that is more educational. But again, that has to be done in a very particular way. Kind of like any documentary that has to do with pedophilia, for example, there's a very thin line between hearing a pedophile out and seconding their beliefs. And in a way, I feel like this is the thin line we have here, and we can't really know until the movie comes out, which is why I'm saying I think the big issue as of now, as people who haven't seen the movie, the marketing is very confusing and concerning. You know, like, as much as I want to give this the benefit of the doubt, I don't know if I feel comfortable watching a movie based on the description of 11-year-olds being interested in twerking. I would like to hope that everything is above board and it's not just sexualizing young children. The other thing that I find interesting based on the trailer is that it seems like there is, and I don't know how deep the analysis goes, I don't know if it's just, you know, like a very surface level commentary, or if it's a deeper commentary about religion and about, you know, how women are treated in certain religions, how women are expected to act with certain religions, like what you're allowed to wear, not wear. It could very well be a commentary on that as well. But I just don't know how much of that is really going to come through when there's that big main issue of why are children being shown in such a light. And especially I'd want to know why the American Netflix chose this picture. Like, I don't even understand why there was need for a different poster. You could just translate the same poster. So I also wonder, what was American Netflix trying to sell as the message here? Were they trying to create this kind of backlash? Because of course, as much as backlash is negative, this movie got a lot more attention than it might have gotten if it were, you know, using the same poster. I don't know. The fact that they issued an apology, that's cool, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, because if the movie's still gonna come out, and if the movie is still sexualizing children, the problem remains. So until anyone really sees the movie and, you know, people give their opinion and we see like what the themes are and how things are presented, it's gonna be hard to say what they're trying to show. But as of right now, it doesn't look good. And just because it may have won some awards, it doesn't really mean anything, considering we've seen plenty of films that are questionable, to say the least, that have still been considered fine until people got mad, and then the media is like, oh shit, you know, we should apologize for this. I don't know how it is that we keep having scandals like this when it's so obvious. Like, these are not little nuanced things. Like, you have half-naked 11-year-olds on a cover. In what world would you think that's appropriate, especially when it has to do with twerking? Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think there's a possibility for this movie to be, you know, more educational, or do you think there's just no way around potentially having scantily dressed young girls on screen? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.